house of brands, if you will. And I don't like the term brands, but in reality, it's like a house of brands. What does that really mean? We're a creative studio, and we create tools / experiences for people to engage with, hopefully to have a cathartic or catalytic experience. And they're all focused around the human experience of what does it mean to be alive right now? Because to be alive right now is totally different than what it was even 20 years ago, right? In 2000, you didn't have Facebook. The world was different. And when I went to high school, I was lucky to have a beeper, and I have to call people and quarter in the, and like if you go to any 15-year-old right now and you go like this, they don't even really know what this is.
No.
Right? But
some of them don't even know how they're like, what part of the phone
dial
goes.
tone, and like the way we communicate with one another is rapidly shifting in such a fast way, in such an exponential way. And everyone's really focused on how does that affect finance, cryptocurrency and blockchain? Right. How's that affecting politics and the silo effect of algorithms and news and politics? Okay. What about the emotional experience of life?
Yeah.
What about like the sense of connection? What about the sense of intimacy? What about the sense of love? What about family? What does even family mean in this today's world? The world is shifting so rapidly because of technology and the ways we're able to relate to one another. And we want to step into that space, and we're about to start our 9th year now, where we're offering people tools, i.e. / experiences, in which they can really, in which we have to create the space for them to explore key components of what it means to be alive. So for instance, key component of being human, right, is love and relationships. Therefore, we created the tool or the experience called the and. And the and is about the space between, right? Because a relationship is not you or I, us or them. It's you and I, us and them. The and is a space between. So to explore this theme or this part of being alive of love and relationships, we created the and. Another big part of being alive is your sexual expression, your sexuality. Therefore, we created the experience, the tool, Honest X. In the past, family, community is a big part of being a human, the human experience now. So we created the dig. So we create different experiences for people to engage with that deepen their connection to what it means to be alive.
Welcome to Far Out with Faust. I'm Faust Chicho, and today I'm sitting here with one Topaz Adizes. Let me tell you about Topaz and everything that he's been creating. He's an award-winning writer, director. He's an innovative producer. He's the founder and CEO of The Skin Deep. Like, what is The Skin Deep? We're going to get into what The Skin Deep is. He's also created an incredible channel and a line of products and games, and it's called The End, The Dig, The Window, Honest X. It's all these interactive experiences, guys. It's about relationships. It's about the power of communication. And sit tight. We're going to get into all of it. Topaz, can you introduce your lovely colleagues who you brought on with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on, Faust. I wanted to bring in some of my collaborators I love that we work together for some time now, Ashika and Sydney.
Welcome, Ashika and Sydney.
Yeah. Ashika is our head of design, and Sydney here is one of our creative producers. And I just, I oftentimes I get invited to talk on podcasts, and I think so much of what we do is a collaboration, and it's not about an auteur. It's not about one person. In this world where we're making these interactive content and experiences, it's really about the collection of the team and being able to work together to put out, experiences that can
absolutely
best meet the needs of our audience. So I wanted to bring Ashika and Sydney in.
Absolutely. And it's so necessary. I mean, you need it, you thrive with it, with working with people who are passionate about, what you're doing. But how long have you guys worked with Topaz?
I have been here for 3 years now, and it feels like maybe 15. Awesome. It's been great. We're in great journey.
Topaz is like, why did I ask her on?
No.
15
I'm
good
totally
years.
kidding.
And I have been here for
in May, it'll be going on 2 years, I think. That's so
cool.
crazy. Yeah, it's been 2.
Is it? Yeah, may come in. So you're like a year and a half in.
Yeah, because first year I was interning of sorts, and then I guess technically this will be the first full year of full time. So,
and did you guys find? Did you find the Skin Deep? Were you like, oh, fans of it, and then somehow that led to, or were you like working in the industry? How did you find Topaz?
Did you go first? Your story is better.
Okay. Oh, I bet Asha's so tired of me telling this story, but the story of how I came to find out about TSD was pandemic hit March 2020. And obviously the world was just going to shit. Everything was happening and a lot of personal stuff was happening. So I was in a funk. And I'm normally someone who I don't YouTube content. I've told Topaz that I'm not someone who likes YouTube, but I found myself on there one day and found a video from TSD. And then 2 hours later, I was still watching, which is the only time I've ever in my life binged anything on YouTube. Like that, it was wild. And immediately was like, I need to be a part of this somehow, some way. Went on the website, guessed Topaz's email, wrote him something that was—
What? You guessed it?
Yeah, it was my sister's like in business. So she's like, I can help you cold email people. So she helped me figure out the formula that people use in company emails, figured out what his email was, sent something, and then we got connected. Found out that didn't know it at the time, but was really aligned with the values that TSD holds. And we've just been working ever since. I look back at that and just so thankful that Topaz actually opened up that email and this time.
It was a long email. It was one of those like 3-scroll emails. I was like, what is this? But for some reason,
that's awesome. Well, that's ballistic right there. That was meant to be for sure.
Yes.
And Ashika is similar. Ashika, you should tell you. I don't know why you downplay your story. Your story is pretty. I mean,
all right, have at it, Ashika. Come on.
I mean, yeah, my story is good too, but so a friend of mine posted something on social about like TSD looking for like an assistant editor, and I was in school for filmmaking back then, so I was like looking for anything and came across that. But like, you know, stories last for like a day, so it's crazy that I came across that. And then I came across it and I was like, oh hell yeah, I totally want to be connected. And then my friend connected me to Topaz. Topaz sent me these like this really long email with all this information about the Skin Deep. I watched all the videos and I was immediately like, what the hell has this been my whole life? What the hell? And I was like immediately hooked. And then I met Topaz, I think like that same week. I saw him in the office, in our little office in Greenpoint. And then we just like connected immediately, like just immediately was like, yes, let's just do it. We're doing this, like forget it. And then he left the next day and I didn't see him for like 2 months or something. Like he was gone.
Yeah. Were you on tour, Topaz?
Yes, I was on my tour, my world tour. No, I think I was I was in Colorado, or I went back to California or something, or Mexico. I think I went back to Mexico.
It was Mexico. Yeah, nice. I was like, what? You're leaving? What?
Okay.
The thing about, I'll never forget Ashika walking in, because she came in, I had like another 2 hours before I had to leave, and we were looking for an editor and just had this another interview. She came in, and this is, you know, there's a lot of thoughts. And so I just shared her the ideas of like where we're at and what we're doing and interactive media and blah, blah, blah. And usually you feed people like this pipe load of information, right? And they're like, wait, what? And Ashika was just like, yeah, totally got it. And she did. You could tell her eyes were like, she totally understood everything I was talking about. She totally got it. There was no friction. There was no, and she wasn't faking it. She totally was like, yeah, totally. Of course. Yep. I agree. Yep. And I was like, oh, you get it? She's like, yeah. I'm like, so should we start? We're like, yeah. And then she left and I went into the office with Nick. Nick has been with us for a long time. He was actually going to be on this call. Unfortunately, he's actually moving down to Mexico for a few months. So he's flying right now. But he came in and I looked at him and he looked at me. I was like, so do we just hire Ashika? I was like, I think we did. We're like, we just did, right? Yeah, I think we did.
Pretty sure she knows everything about us now. Yeah.
Yeah, she's in. So
that's awesome. That's a cool story. I'm glad I asked about it. So and so guys, this is the kind of content that's on here. It affects people, and and in an amazing way. So we're going to get into more, but you're going to have to check it out because it's really cool. It's really unique.
So let me do like just so your audience, because we've been listening for
please.
how long right now, they're wondering what the hell is the Skin Deep?
Can you tell us what you're talking about?
We are a house of brands, if you will. And I don't like the term brands, but in reality, it's like a house of brands. What does that really mean? We're a creative studio, and we create tools / experiences for people to engage with, hopefully to have a cathartic or catalytic experience. And they're all focused around the human experience of what does it mean to be alive right now? Because to be alive right now is totally different than what it was even 20 years ago, right? In 2000, you didn't have Facebook. The world was different. When I went to high school, I was lucky to have a beeper, and I have to call people and quarter in the, and like if you go to any 15-year-old right now and you go like this, they don't even really know what this is.
No.
Right? But
some of them don't even know how they're like, what part of the phone
dial
goes.
Tone, and like the way we communicate with one another is rapidly shifting in such a fast way, in such an exponential way. And everyone's really focused on how is that affecting finance, and cryptocurrency and blockchain.
Right.
How is that affecting politics and the silo effect of algorithms and news and politics? Okay. But what about the emotional experience of life?
Yeah.
What about like the sense of connection? What about the sense of intimacy? What about the sense of love? What about family? What does even family mean in this today's world? The world is shifting so rapidly because of technology and the ways we're able to relate to one another. And we want to step into that space, and we're about to start our 9th year now, where we're offering people tools, i.e. / experiences, in which they can really, in which we have to create the space for them to explore key components of what it means to be alive. So for instance, key component of being human, right, is love and relationships. Therefore, we created the tool or the experience called the and. And the and is about the space between, right? Because a relationship is not you or I, us or them. It's you and I, us and them. The and is a space between. So to explore this theme or this part of being alive of love and relationships, we created the and. Another big part of being alive is your sexual expression, your sexuality. Therefore, we created the experience, the tool, Honest X. In the past, family, community is a big part of being a human, the human experience now. So we created the dig. So we create different experiences for people to engage with that deepen their connection to what it means to be alive, to what it means to be human, to have the human experience in lieu of this world that is rapidly changing.
That's right.
I mean, going back to the kid like this, like, a 15-year-old going forward they're never going to ever have that experience of dialing a phone to the house at 5:00 one evening, calling the house in middle school of somebody that you like. You're sweating bullets because you don't know if mom or dad or big brother or big sister are going to pick up as you ask to speak to the person you want to talk to.
Right.
No, that doesn't happen anymore.
I literally, I have a landline, which is crazy that I have a landline, but I have a landline because my wife is Colombian, and she used to have a lot more family in Colombia. We used to have to call Colombia, and this was before, there was the plans. And anyway, we had Vonage, and I have a landline. My 10-year-old son picked up the phone the other day and he has the phone. He has the mouthpiece by his ear, and he's like, hello. I'm looking at him like, he's like, oh, okay, thank you. And then he handed me the phone. I was like, okay, so next time bring this part, you speak right into this part. He's like, oh, okay. I was like,
but we laugh at that, but I bet you he knows how to work the iPad better than you do, or
dude,
like some new software.
Totally, man.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
he's incredible on it. Like he knows how to do everything on it. I'm like, who taught you to do that? He's like, I don't know. They just take to it, Yeah.
But in essence, that's what the Skin Deep is. We create these house of brands, but each brand is a tool. It's an experience that addresses a different part of what it means to be human. And then we explore in that space. And really, it's about creating the space to explore for our catalyzers. We call our audience catalyzers because they're not consumers who just sit back and eat your stuff, or audience who just sits back and watches. They actually engage with it. They bring it to life. And that's how we do it. And
it's cool, man. It's really it's so important these days. I mean, if I'm sure that um, uh, Akashic or anyone who's moved to a big city can tell you, just because you're surrounded by people doesn't mean that you aren't lonely, and the more technology kind of comes into every aspect of our life, it challenges communicate. It makes communication easier on in one way, like you can pick up the phone and speak a text, and it's the closest thing to telepathy that we have, right? Like if you can instantaneously send your thoughts to someone, that's great. But at the same time, it seems to, on the other hand, also do away with what we traditionally understand and relate to as communication. You can't, I call someone up and they're like, hey, you're calling? I'm like, I'm calling you like it's the 90s, baby. Yeah, I'm calling you. What's up? Like, let's talk on the phone. It's a surprise. People are like, is something wrong? Why did you call me? Talking is, it's not so common anymore. And so that affects relationships, right? I mean, like, if you've ever been in a relationship, in any relationship, communication is probably the first thing, the first foundation that begins to crumble when it starts to go bad, whatever the relationship is. That's been my experience, right? So that's why I think what you guys are doing and what you've done is so vital now more than ever, because it's always a push-pull between progress and what we're losing, and I think this is a great thing to have in the arsenal, right? So tell me about how your experience this Topaz. Like, was this like, first of all, the fact that 2020 happened and people were so isolated, it's so crazy. Like, you couldn't have seen that coming. Like, how did you guys do during that? Did you see like an exponential growth in because I'm sure people were like really itching for some kind of valuable, interaction and communication. Like, what happened with all that?
I'm gonna jump into that because we were just talking about this yesterday. So 2020 was like maybe the most impactful in terms of what the work we do. Because clearly there was like this forced disconnect, right? The physical disconnect, obviously, like, so, and it wasn't just like about someone moving across the world. You could literally be living down the street from your grandma and you're not able to like connect with them. So you had to find ways to like adapt to that, keeping the relationship going. So the need for our work was more than ever. And we saw it in so many ways that we literally like we packed our bags and said, okay, we got to go to Atlanta, we got to go to LA, we got to go to all these places, get these conversations, see how people are actually interacting with each other, how it's changed it was just a few months that the pandemic hit. Yeah. People were so immensely impacted by like not being able to connect with each other. And we saw that immediately. And honestly, that was just, it just felt like the work we do is solidified, but also the fact that we were ahead of the game as we usually are. It just like was amazing to see, first of all, just the way that people opened up. And we did grow like immensely. And I would say Sid or Topaz, you should add to that in terms of like we went from selling this many card games to like,
I bet. Oh my God.
Selling out at the end of the year, which is great. And even today, like I would say post lockdown or post quarantine, the intense period, there's this need for a healing edition. And it's like exponentially like increasing. Like there's this more of a need, and you can tell it's just a great pattern. You honestly are able to like it gives you this data that's so valuable that you wouldn't be able to get in any other way. And that data is like finding out that people are actually needing to heal just by selling a card game that helps them do that. So it's just, in my opinion, it's been a great journey this past few years just to learn how people connect with each other. So.
Very cool. That must be so rewarding for you guys. I have so much love for you guys for creating this, because this is like it's things like this that they have a ripple effect, and they literally they help heal the world. There's a lot of trauma out there, a lot of unspoken grief, and that's, I think, the root cause of and the crumble of most relationships from unhealed trauma. And like, so something like this is it's so cool, it's so powerful, it's such great karma. It's I love hearing this. But Topaz,
I want to just jump in this, like, that one thing that's missing right now, I think, is listening. Right? There's so much polarization. There's so much, so many people talking. There's so many opinions. There's so many facts, different facts, depending on where you're coming from and what you're reading, what media you're consuming. But there's very little listening, and there's very little spaces to actually empathize with another. And in my opinion, from what I've seen, we've recorded over 1,500 conversations in our 8 years around the world, is that creating the space for listening creates a space for deeper empathy, because you're not actually projecting your own thoughts. You're actually not speaking over someone. You're actually listening and starting to feel where they're coming from. And I think that's something that's really needed now.
My God,
especially
is
as
it
we,
ever?
Is it ever? And I think that what we're, one thing we're building is this Wikipedia of human relationships. We're actually taking all these conversations and putting them into a library that you can query through, so that you can have access to all these other people's experiences, so that they can help inform the relationships in your own life or the choices you make in your own life. That is something that I know Sydney's been really attracted to and is really honed on. I think
that's a great idea. That's like a frequently asked questions.
Honestly, that was exactly what drew me to TSD. And whenever I think of the data's quote by, I think it's by James Baldwin, that says, like, you think that your pain and heartbreak in the world is unprinted until you read that out for this Wikipedia. I think, like, you think that the thing you're going through is completely not resonant with anyone until you queue up 300 conversations of people going through that same emotion in their own relationships. And like, going back to that whole my binging of TSD when I was in the middle of the pandemic. The first video I watched was a breakup it was Melanie and Jake, and two people who I don't think I would have ever related to had I not sat down and was in the middle of their relationship. I never would have been able to find the same heartbreak that I was going through within their relationship. So I think that's such an amazing thing to be able to have this Wikipedia where you're feeling something one day, hop online, and then you can find these different connections that mirror in some ways what you're going through. And that's the Wikipedia, that's the library that we're trying to build right now.
I love that. And the fact that it'll be quick, like searchable. And I look, there's something so universally resonating about what you just said. I think that we do that in our lives anyway, right? I mean, like, if I'm feeling like, if I'm just feeling down or whatever, and I'm like, I'm kind of either consciously or subconsciously looking for like a little chicken soup for the soul. You know what I'm saying? So I go home and I put something on and it's not real. You know what I mean? It's like, so maybe I put something on that's, I don't know, maybe I put The Princess Bride on and I watch like, an old 80s movie that maybe Topaz must remember.
I know, I remember. Yeah, I remember.
Like something like that. But at the same time, how incredible would it be to be able to go and look at other people having an experience, a real experience, an actual conversation. It's the implications for how it could affect people's lives are pretty immeasurable, I think. So it's a fantastic idea. And
also, so you get home, you have an issue, you might watch some content, but you probably call up your friends. Hey, I got this problem. Or what would you do? You're calling up people that in your physical proximity or that are in your network. And because of the way most of us are, we find people that are like similar to us and doing similar things, similar interests, right? But if you create a digital library of conversations that span way beyond your own physical proximity or people who are like you, you can then see all the different possibilities of ways to be. I say, like, so I come to you and I say, yo, man, Faust, man, why are relationships full of jealousy? All relationships got jealousy everywhere. Why is that? Right. Like, whoa, Topaz, you're 50% of all the relationships that you're in. So you're part of it. But hey, check out this relationship. And you can witness an conversation where it's a polyamory couple and their relationship to jealousy is totally different than mine. And I would never have the option of actually stepping into that vulnerable space and seeing how they connect if it wasn't for the and, which would then inform me of like, oh, hold on a sec. Not all relationships have to have jealousy. Check out how they're communicating. Ooh. And we actually see this with our allies, with our community, because we've been around for, now we're coming into our 9th year, 2022, is thank you so much for informing my relationships, because I came across you in high school, and I went to college and I was dating. And now I'm living with my partner and I'm 24, and I would never have been in this relationship if I had not watched Ben and Cedra or watched these other conversations. Why? Because it opened up their what their understanding of what a relationship could be. And oftentimes a lot of the media we watch is artificial.
Totally.
It's a film, or it's an influencer doing the selfie thing who's presenting you this, and it's not reality. But the and is a space of honest, vulnerable. It's an honest, vulnerable, safe space where people actually discover one another, discover themselves. And you as an audience, because they're having that experience, you also are having that experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's the powerful aspect of the and what we've been able to create with that.
It is.
Yeah.
And you know, you feel a little bit like a fly on the wall because you really are, you know, it's almost, it's got a bit of the magic of theater to it. You know, when you step into a great play, you feel so connected with the actors, and they of course are very aware of the energy and the people in the room. And then there's this thing that happens. It's like electric, right? And you guys have found a way to capture a piece of that on camera with real people in real dialogue about shit that actually means something, you know, like the human experience. And that is like catching lightning in a bottle. That's it's no small feat. So I was watching and I was like, damn, you know, I was really kind of blown away by how captivating, because the conversations are so real. You know, they're literally there. It's like the opposite of what, you know, we call reality TV. I mean, it's so crazy that we call that kind of TV reality TV. I mean, I guess it's good marketing, but but this is the like the polar opposite of that.
Like reality of emotion.
Yeah.
Reality TV, and there's the reality of emotion. Like you're just feeling people in a real space that you don't normally get access to seeing that.
Yeah. And you guys, I mean, you're hitting on like that's one of the things I was going to talk to you all about, is like, you know, in a world where everything is scripted and everything is, my God, you guys have created this thing. And what was your inspiration, Topaz? How did you come about this?
Life, man. Life is the master.
I mean, I know you grew up in the city, right? Did you grow up in the city?
I grew up in Santa Monica.
Okay.
And then I moved to, and then I was informed, I moved to New York when I was 22, there for a long time, 17, 18 years. But I have two incredible parents, disconnected emotionally, got divorced super young, never saw them happy, laughing. And I think those were definitely painful things, but they were gifts. And frankly, like oftentimes the pain is the gift. And that pain was a desire to find intimacy and connection. And I started by making films and trying to discover people, and, you know, and then ultimately it was experimenting with this triptych format as a present for my father, as a corporate video. You know, I'm doing this probably the most incredible corporate video ever made. It was all in triptych. And then I was like,
tell everyone what you mean by triptych.
Triptych. So when you film, when you watch the power of the and is that you're seeing both people's faces at the same time, side by side. And sometimes there's a trick, so that's a bipanel, or a triptych. You see like a wide shot of both of them facing each other. And what happens there is that you're able to, it's not just what they say, it's how they're reacting to each other with the facial expressions. You know, when's the time, you know, what's the pain in me you wish you could heal? And they take a moment of silence. And they're both processing, and one is processing, going through their memory, seeing it, the other one's waiting for the answer. And that moment, which in radio, they say never leave radio silence. In film and TV, it's like, you know, you got to cut on the action, on the beat. Here, we're actually sitting in this moment of nothingness, but in the nothingness is everything.
That's right.
And in this world where social media is so fast and we're like, and TikTok is overcoming Instagram. Why? Because it's 20 seconds instead of a minute, right?
Yeah.
And then we're getting these endorphin fits. Let's not forget the human connection that is intrinsic in all of us.
Yeah.
Even though we are living in this digital world. And I think when we oftentimes, people don't even ask it anymore, but it used to be like, is social media good or bad? And now I think we've seen the result of that, but that is not the question. Social media is here,
Right.
and it's dominating. So it's like asking yourself if you get flooded and it's like, is a flood good or bad? Who cares? My house is flooded.
Right.
The question is, what are you going to do about it? What responsibility are you going to take to make an adjustment, to like contribute to the situation, to then channel the waters so that in the future we end up in a different spot? And that's really like the mission of the Skin Deep. How do we create experiences utilizing the world we live in now, which is digital, which is all this technology, to actually bring a little more conscientiousness and presence to the relationships in our life, to the way we engage in the human experience as an individual and as a collective. So that's where we're at. And you know, if I look at like, how did this end up in our hands? And I was just like the cathartic. There's nothing more. I look forward to being a footnote in the creation of the Skin Deep. It's why it's called the Skin Deep and not the Topaz Adizes studio. And that's also why I want to bring in my colleagues, my collaborators, because oftentimes we always want to look at one person. It's not one person. This is like a team effort. And I guarantee you, Honest X would not be what it is. The and that we did would not be, if it wasn't for Ashika, if it wasn't for Sydney, it wasn't for Nick, it wasn't for Stone, it wasn't for Julian, if it wasn't for our whole team, Allison, who do incredible work, Rosie and Jaden, and you know, and all the other people who used to work for us to get us here. It's a collaborative effort. Just like, why is it falling in my lap? Because of the collaborative effort of life. You know, I have a brother who's 18 years younger than I. We're both living in New York. I see how he's dating as I'm dating. We're totally different worlds, right? Yeah. He's able to code switch on text messages. I'm still trying to call people I'm dating to talk to them. And they're like, why are you calling? Just leave a voicemail. And he's like, ooh, you're aggressive. You want to talk to them. Just text them for 3 weeks and then meet. Like, So life brought me to this point that then gave us this gift of, by experimenting with the and, you know, I did this triptych for my father, and I said, how could we apply that? Would it be interesting to see people talking in the triptych? And so we experimented, and then we're like, wow, there's something really beautiful here. And we started it. And then, you know what? We won the Emmy.
Yes, oh my God. You did. I was going to ask you about that. Tell us about, either you or if someone else wants to tell me about the Emmy you guys won. That was
the Emmy was one for New Approaches to Documentary, where we created an interactive site. Awesome. And it was the format. So it was both the format, but also the way it was delivered, which was through an interactive site. And that meant a lot, but more importantly, what it meant was it was an acknowledgement of the work we had done with very little resources. And I'm great that an institution like that and the jurors could see, like, it's not about money. It's about like the content and the value offering.
That's right.
And I think that I remember a collaborator had them, we're like, great, you got the Emmy. Okay, now we go do something else. I was like, no. This is not the full manifestation of the end is not complete yet. The full manifestation is when it's organic and people can upload their own conversations that then if they choose to make public can get searched through, can get tagged so that other people can search. And we're making a living library, a living human library, which will become an archive. Because imagine in 2062, when people are wondering the challenges of what it was like in the year of the great pandemic, we're going to have those conversations that they're going to be able to search through. So a lot of what inspires us, and Sydney and Ash could speak to it, but I think what draws them as Skin Deep, like our whole team, is our generational pride, that we're creating something that our grandchildren will say, grandma was part of that, grandpa was part of that, or whatever pronouns we will use at that time. You know, they were part of that, and we're proud of that. And I think that that's what drives me. And I'm really I feel a responsibility as like the key catalyst, but I know in a few years, I'll be gone and Ashika and Sydney or someone else will be running it as a team, because it's not about me. It's about what we're doing collectively.
No, what a vision and what a resource it's going to be. And this archive is going to be, it's going to be a time capsule. I mean, it's not just going to be a resource for people who are looking, to try to possibly resolve things in their relationship. But I mean, I think just, we are a snapshot in time, how people talk, how people relate. It's all, like if you want to get a general consensus of it, this is going to be like, you can go to the skin deep. It's going to be a resource, I think, for so many people and so many different types of industry, not just everyday people. So it's incredible. I love it. What about you? You guys have to chime in.
I was gonna say something that came up in terms of like the time capsule. I think there's also like when you spend a lot of time watching these videos, you're focusing so much on like facial expressions and like the way people move with every emotion that comes up. And like I find myself doing the same thing in real life, which is like so scary, especially like being in front of a camera and watching one person go through massive amounts of emotion all at once, and not being able to see the other person's face, and then coming back and watching the video all over and seeing like what truly comes up. It's just like, it's a time capsule in a way that you learn so much about the way people, it's like a history of emotion, like that does not exist. Like it's like down the road, you're probably going to be much more aware of how, when a person is lying or being genuine than you are today, because there are people who study that. But can you imagine like just a normal human being like being able to watch this emotion and then being able to like I guess like dissect it moving forward? I think that's just like it's a powerful thing in that sense, where like there's no body language. There is studies about body language, but it's not accessible to everybody,
right.
Which I think is in myself amazing. It's like a curse and a blessing, because then it's like you can start to manipulate it, but then it's a blessing because like watching somebody's emotion, like people walk into the room, they're completely nervous and like fully tense, and then by the end of the conversation they're like, it's like they're high, so they're just completely like they just let it loose, like they just got a massage. So it's amazing
because they get really present with the person they're talking to. And so what happens when you do that, and this is a lesson, and part of the value of this amazing work that you guys are doing is when you put people in a situation to actually get present with what they're doing, who they're speaking to, that's where we're meant to live, right? And a lot of us have to slow down and breathe. And I have a daily practice that I do to help me stay present. I have children. I live in New York City. I have 2 dogs. They're not small dogs. Things are crazy here. So in order to put my best foot forward, I have to really get present, because I want to be a great dad. I want to be a great husband. And so that helps me, but that's what's so cool about watching your videos, is like you see people just get really, really present, and you see their eyes, and you see the connection. It's cool.
Yeah, you see the walls just fall down, and it's designed like that. You can't go up and get coffee. You can't avert your eyes. You can't go and do something else. You have to be right there and very present with the person. You're in a chair that's relatively comfortable, but just uncomfortable enough that you have to be upright and be present. And that's the beauty of it, is that you're in that moment and you allow yourself to be vulnerable. I feel like it's an agreement when you sit down with that person and those cards are right in front of you, you have agreed to go into this space of vulnerability. And that's what it's offered here.
That's the magic word right there. That's why I'm sitting here right now. Like my story's long and mostly boring, but I'm an actor and a producer, but I was having a lot of trouble in my work being vulnerable. And I had a wonderful acting teacher, coach, guru. His name's Larry Moss. He's an incredible guy, but he was like, he told me I had to figure a lot of stuff out, and then I needed to go figure out why I couldn't. Like my body was just conditioned to shut down whenever I felt vulnerable. And of course, as an actor, that's like certain death, right? Like all I wanted to do was feel, and I couldn't. So it sent me soul searching. And, of course, then you learn about yourself and you realize that things were not always what they seem. And that's another value that I see in this work you guys are doing. People can see that, when you're raised a certain way, you have your family culture, right? And that's what and it's really until you start to be exposed to other family cultures and other ways of living that you realize that maybe just maybe yours wasn't so normal. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes a moment, sometimes it takes years, but you're like, that things could have been so different. And so what are the repercussions of that, right? And one of the things that always comes to mind for me with vulnerability is Brene Brown, right? I mean, I'm wondering if how much you guys are aware of her and her amazing work on vulnerability and just kind of getting the word out to men specifically about what a superpower vulnerability is and what a crime it is that we've, up until really recent years been kind of, conditioning it out of men. I mean, I say that I'm a little older than you guys, but my parents, I'm sure Topaz can relate, the generational, the emotional constipation was rampant in that older generation. So of course that's what we learned, and had to unlearn. But yeah, you guys Brene Brown fans, I bet.
Yeah, I think her work is incredible, and it's inspiring. I think she's led the way in bringing that conversation to the foreground. And what I think about in terms of how do we get present, why does the ant space create that? And I'm not sure if we made clear, but we sell, we make this video, we're building the Wikipedia, but we're like, how do we bring this into people's lives immediately? And we started with the card games, because what's key at this is not the lights and not the director there. I mean, yes, we do things to create the space, which is important, but it's a game. It's a game that has rules, and the core is the question. And I think oftentimes, especially in our society in the West, we're so focused on what are you doing and do you have the answer, and you got to have the answer. And and we're so focused on the answer, and that's the wrong place to be focused on. It's what's the question you're asking yourself. Put more energy on the question. So I saw on your YouTube, there's a lot of talk about psychedelics and ayahuasca and how is that? I don't know if ayahuasca.
We love those conversations here. Yeah.
Right. But if you think about why, what is the use of psychedelics and how is that really shifting? Why is that so healing for people? Why is it so cathartic for people? Because it puts you in a place where you're actually having a different question. Holy shit, why is the sky opening up and I see there's this other energy source? Or oh my God, I always saw my father, I hated my dad all this time. And then I got this journey ayahuasca, and I remember this memory of actually he tried his best considering da. We ask a different question.
Yeah.
And I think that's
and we have a different perspective too.
But that's in the different perspective enables you to ask a different question.
That's right.
But you could flip it too. You could reverse engineer it. Let me ask a different question, therefore I get a different perspective. And I think that's, you ask a different question, forces you to create a new connection, i.e., how does this conflict make us better? In our lives, we're always trying to avoid conflict. If I ask, how does conflict make us better? What about, we had one incredible conversation in New Zealand that always moved me. It's a young man who's got Asperger's. He's about 17 years old. And his father came in. It was him and his father talking. And so I gave him a question. I gave the father a question that said, to ask the son, what do you think is the hardest thing for me being your father? Now, the father, he's committed his life to supporting his son. He's now 16, 17, he's got Asperger's. He's never asked him, maybe he's asked himself the question, but the son has never been asked that question. And here, all of a sudden, the father asked it, and you could see it's a video. What is the video? It's Johnny, and I'll have to send it to you, but we'll his whole physiology relaxes the father, because he's actually, wow, I got to ask this question. And the son, who's beautiful soul, Asperger's, he's going to give the truth. He's going to go there. He's no bullshit. He drops and goes, probably the love and relationships in your life. You've been so focused on me. You haven't had a chance to explore your own creativity and music and with your partner and spend time with your girlfriend.
Wow.
And the father gets seen, and the son puts himself in the father's shoes. And all of a sudden there's a space here, because we've asked a new question, for their new connection to be made.
Wow.
And I think if there's anything to take away from this podcast that I like to share is really pay attention to the questions you ask yourself.
Yeah.
Boom, this shit happened to me. Why did this shit happen to me? Hold on a second. Stop. Is that a helpful question? Let's improve that question. How is this shit that the fertilizer for the seed I'm going to become?
That's right.
How is this shit offer me a lesson that is going to that I can take, so that you just pay attention to the questions we ask.
That's right. Topaz is talking
similarly,
about
like,
it's a recontextualization, right? It's and it's so ready for you to put this in your life at any point in time. And when you put it in your life, it affects your experience. You know, I tell people all the time, how you imagine something's going to go, that's one thing, but you can imagine all you want, but your expectations, all these things affect your experience when you're having it, right? So it's a recontextualizing. It's a powerful tool for you to bring into your life. Like, how is this? This is for my greatest good. Whatever's happening to me is for my greatest good. So like, if you start there and look at what's happening, you can really begin to ask better questions and get better answers.
Which is just to do a plug for us. People want to buy these card games. What's the power of these card games? There are 199 questions. If you go to your partner, if you go to your wife, Faust, and you say, my love, why do you love me? She's not, or she comes to you, she goes, Faust, why do you love me? You're not wondering why you love her. You're wondering, why is she asking me this question? Did I leave the toilet seat up? Did one of the dogs shit in the living room? Like, did she think I'm shitting? Like, why did she ask me this question? But if you have an artifice, these games, these questions, then you know why she's asking you. And now the space is being created for you to answer, and possibly more important, the space for her to receive. Right? Or vice versa, for you to receive this, like, wow. So how do we, with these card games, create the space for what we call like emotional articulation? Like, explore your emotions, but then how do I articulate that? And to create the space for us to have that, all comes from the questions. So we have 12 decks, different relationships, different things. Worthwhile to check out.
I'm getting them. Honest to God, I'm getting them.
Well, we should just send you one. We should send you one, and then
that would be
hear
awesome.
About it.
No, that would be awesome. You know what? I could do it.
We'll do that.
Because I do vlogs as well. I might do a vlog with one. So that's very cool. Yeah. So when did is Honest X your most recent launch?
Yes.
I love that. You have to tell me about that little laugh that I just heard. Where did that come from?
It's a journey. It's been a journey. I think we were supposed to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Topaz, it was like years ago. We developed this project years ago, but Honest X is basically 4 years ago, and it was supposed to be a podcast where folks come in and you could be. It was anonymous back then, so like folks come in and they talk about different parts of their sexuality, and they kind of learn from each other. So it's like it's not about different than the end. It's not about the connection or the space in between. It's about the individual experiences that you can learn from each other. So that was supposed to be something that developed a long time, but then we put our focus on the end because there was a need for that. But now we see the need for this new part of humanity to be explored. So we developed this card game that's a safe, non-judgmental space game that we created for people to explore their sexuality, their desires, and things like that. It's an awesome product. I'm just gonna say, because I've been the guinea pig. I've played a few times, and it's been amazing.
You played this weekend, did you?
No, and I was telling, like, I played with my guy friends who I would absolutely never have this conversation with. I mean, we'll have it in passing, but like to hear them unravel the stuff about the way they explore their sexuality in today's age and time, in the presence of everything that's shifting and all of that, was just like, honestly, like so eye-opening. And we spent 3 hours, right? We played 30 minutes of the actual game, and then we're like, okay, no, these questions are great. We're just gonna ask each other these questions, and it was just honestly like really, really powerful. So yeah,
that's cool. And there's so much to learn, and so much we don't know, because we're like, especially like, you know, with men and women, there's like, you know, like in general, women don't talk about those things in front of men, and there's not always a situation. I mean, I'm probably a little older than you guys, but maybe not Topaz, but you know, it's just, I mean, it's like virtually unheard of. You know, there's no conversations that happen because no one's comfortable. So it's so cool. That's such an interesting and important tool. And so does it, like, so do you have one, does it work with couples? Like, do you have like, you know, does it work for both? Like,
let's tell them what it is. Let's fill them in.
Yeah.
You want to tell them, how's it work?
Say go for it. Okay, you want me to explain the gameplay?
Well, don't you have the game? Do you have it right there?
Yeah.
Show it to them.
Let me I gotta pause my video 1 sec.
Okay, but in essence, Faust, it's like Honest X is a safe, non-judgmental space to explore your sexuality.
Right.
Sexuality is a journey. It's a journey of self-expression.
Mhm.
And we talk about vulnerability. It's one of the most vulnerable spaces in our lives. So here's the game. There's the podcast that's coming out in January.
Cool.
So maybe if you want to participate, you can participate anonymously as well.
Okay.
But we are recording. Sydney's hosting and directing a lot of the conversations.
Cool.
But we have a podcast coming out, but the product is available now.
All right, so it usually comes as like a starter kit, which is basically this box, and then 3 of the conversations, which is getting grounded, surfacing desire, and exploring intimacy. And these are base level. They're meant to be talked with kind of anybody. Like you can talk to anybody, but you obviously, if you want to talk to your partners, you can like look through each one of these and exploring intimacy and warming it up.
These are so cool. They should make these. They should outlaw Tinder and make this the world would be a better place.
Embrace curiosity.
Warming it up.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Desire.
I love that box. That'd be a good Christmas present.
There you go.
Very cool. I'm going to gift wrap it. I'm going to get one.
I mean, I think what's great about this game, that I love about this game, is that there's 9 different packs of 9 different subjects, right? So you can actually make your own box, and we're going to make more packs in the future. So you can really create your own box of what areas you want to explore in the journey of sexuality. But what I think is interesting in terms of like as a journey in the gameplay itself is that there's 5. The way it plays it, there's 5 ways to answer the question. So the first one is answer in 5 words. Second one is answer for more than 2 minutes. The third one is answer like you never would. Is that right? Or answer like as the other player. And then the 5th, answer like you never would, answer as the other player, and then answer in silence. So you have these 5 ways to respond. And then you take out the questions randomly or otherwise, you place them down. And so you have 3 rounds of that. And between each round, you move the cards to a different format. The point being, you answer one question in 3 different ways. So that alone is an exploration, right? Maybe the first time I'm like, I'm going to answer this in 5 words. Boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Second round, I'm going to answer this like I never would. I'm going to answer this in silence. So just the gameplay itself is an exploration itself. And you could play that with partner. You can play that alone.
Wow.
Right?
You could learn so much about yourself and your partner with this game. I mean, I'm just, my imagination is going 1,000 miles a minute. And I'm just, I'm thinking about if you've ever said something to someone and then gotten a chance to say it a different way, that second time you say it, almost always is such an improvement. It's such a better articulated version of the first. That's kind of been my experience. So I'm just thinking of like, wow, this could really, I mean, what an enhancement. What a great way to strengthen a relationship and communication. Wow, it's just so cool. I love that. I love the dynamics of that. And like as an actor, also I have a ton of experience rehearsing things, and I know what comes of, how much you learn about yourself when you begin to look at things from all these different angles. So that's so cool, man. That's such a genius idea. Love it. I'm going to get one, more than one. I'm going to give one away for Christmas. I already know who.
honestx.com. That's where we're.
honestx.
Sid, do you want to? Because Sid, you've been directing a lot of the conversations, right? You want to?
Yeah, the podcast has been its own very, very interesting experience. You can play with a partner. So if you have anyone in your life you just are interested in playing with, if you want to be paired up with a stranger, totally something that we're doing as well. And there is the ability to be as anonymous as you prefer to be. So if you want to have a fake name, if you want your voice to be altered, we are doing that to be able to once again create this space that is safe, that is non-judgmental, but it's really an exploration. We sub in the questions that are a part of Honest X. We've been also playing with the answer prompts, and it has this, like you were saying, it has allowed you to peel back that layer. You say an original answer, and then when you answer in a different way, it just reveals something completely new to yourself, to your partner. So we've been basically getting these all in the can so that in about a month or so, we'll be able to release this.
Nice.
And it's the same thing as the and it comes in so many different ways of learning. So if you're playing the game at home, if you want to listen to a podcast and not necessarily want to play with yourself or a partner, you can take that time and listen and once again put yourself in another space to be able to receive and explore your sexual expression and sexuality.
That's awesome. So you've been like knocking out episodes, right?
Yes, me and Nick been
very cool.
Back to back every day. We say it on our morning calls. I'm like, I got 2 sessions today, and it's honestly the highlight. And it's so great that we're able.
I was going to say, yeah,
like over Zoom has been great. To have this a part of our workflow as well. So
that's awesome. That's so cool. So what's been the most like remarkable moment for you? Like maybe remarkable is not the right word, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess memorable, whether it be shocking or whether it be like, oh, like, or exciting or titillating. Like what was the most, without giving too much away, would you say was the most like, holy shit moment?
Yeah, we try to reserve that is a conversation that 2 people have. We reserve it for them. And we tune back in when it's over and when we can hear what they've learned. And that's normally something that at the very end, we don't even have to ask most times. It's just almost an effusive way of expressing like, I can't believe that, this is how you view this, or this is what you like, and this is your preference. So that's been my highlight. And I think Nick's as well, is when we come back at the end and can fully hear what people have experienced.
Right.
And especially with the strangers, there was this one comment last time where these 2 strangers were like, can we exchange social media? It feels so crazy that I just completely opened up about this extremely intimate part of myself. And now we're never going to talk again. Yeah, it was. And I was like, yeah, if you guys want to do it, perfectly fine. But there is that sense of, I really just bared something that is layered all this taboo that is really intimate to me, an intimate part of myself to you. And, I may not talk to you again. And that's been one of the most parts of it.
The thing that struck me from listening to all of them is also kind of the spectrum in which different people walk around the space and converse in the space. Some are nuanced, some are direct, some are overt, but all of there's just such a whole range where you really see how people's relationship to their sexuality and how they talk about it is so varied. And I got to tell you, there's not been one that I've listened to that I've not learned something or thought about it and wondered, am I the only one who wonders that? Oh my God. Right. Or like I've heard, I didn't know this, but the under the armpit, I've heard in 3 podcasts so far, 3 of them are like really a sensitive area. I've never explored that. Like I didn't even think about exploring that. But
wow.
Have you?
I just know I'm really ticklish, but now I know why. Yeah, that's probably why.
Have some, so to me, it's just like, okay, there's this thing about sex that kind of has been is owned by pornography and this kind of salacious thing that we kind of put as this primal thing. And I think that part of Skin Deep in our value is like, we need to be pioneering. We need to bring conversations that and create a space in which we can learn from one another. Mm-hmm. And sexuality is a huge part of the human experience. And it's something that we only talk about in certain ways or in certain circles. Like, how do we bring this out? How do we create the space to really explore this? Why? So we can deepen our experience of being alive right now.
It's so much more too. It deepens. I mean, the power that's a life-giving, energetic. I mean, the power of that is, you guys, if you get a chance and you have like a half hour, check out my last podcast was with a woman named Aria Hendricks, and she's a tantric expert, and she has some amazing things to say about sex and how how she's helping people explore it and use it to literally manifest things that they've only dreamed about beforehand. So I mean, that's how powerful sex can be, and when people begin to realize that power, it changes their lives. So there's you guys, I think, would enjoy it. It's a pretty quick podcast, and she's amazing. So you have to check it out.
Yeah, for sure. No, for
Yeah.
sure. Maybe we should try to listen to it and get her on the Honest X.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. That's a great idea. She's in Bali, so she's 12 hours in the future. Yeah, that was interesting scheduling. Oh man, that's yeah, it's very cool. I mean, and it would be interesting because if you're hosting a podcast that is delving into these things, you know, to kind of have this knowledge in your back pocket, it might shape the way, you know, you guys decide to maybe put some of the future questions, or, you know what I mean? Like it's an avenue to explore for sure. I just thought I would share that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, man.
Oh, no, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. So, you know, there's just so many things that we could cover, but you know, it must be so cool to as like witnessing and being a part of such positive transformation, you know, especially with the world being the state it's in. And, you know, we see a lot of kind of corporate cutthroatness coming, and when I see a company like you guys doing what you're doing, I really can't take my hat off and say thank you enough, because it's like, to see the kind of consciousness to which you guys bring to your work and your company, it's incredible. It's more and more, to me, it seems like a rare thing. And so I just want to say thank you again for what you guys are doing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Thanks for acknowledging that. I think that's something that we forget about, and because we're in our silo, right? I don't know, Ashika and Sid, but I know but we do have like a gratitude jar in our Slack channel. We do have an audience feedback, so that's what we get, and hearing from you but I think, yeah, it's been it's not easy for us to walk the walk and not just talk it, right? And but yeah, we have to, because there's no point in building something beautiful if you treat people like shit on the way. There's also no point in treating everyone beautifully if you build nothing in the end. So how do you find that line, and how do you offer value both in this present moment with the people that are around you and the relationships that we build, not only with our catalyzers, our community, but as a team? And then also, how do we, you know, push each other and challenge each other so that we actually contribute something in the long term? Yeah. And I think that's something that we're always walking those. I don't always know how we're doing, because, you know, as like, I don't see Sid and Ash all the time, right? I'm like in my own circle talking to my three. As we've been growing, we used to be all together, and now we're like, we have our pockets, right? So I don't know. It's we're trying to walk that. I don't know. How are we doing, Ash? What do you think?
No, I completely agree. I think it is like we do get like caught up in the amount of work that needs to be done for this to reach the number of people we want to reach, and it gets like you don't always get the results that you want immediately, but having conversations with folks like you who remind us that even the one person who's come across our work and the thing that we're trying to accomplish and understands it and plays it back in a way that is truly what the message is, I think that's like so fulfilling in so many ways. And like, we just need that once a month, you know, for us to like, okay, that's our fuel. Okay. Like the next 2 months, we got this. So honestly, it's about one person versus about a billion people, because at the end of the day, that's what our message is about, is being able to shift the way people connect. And if it reaches only one person, it's okay. At least it happened, you know?
But the thing for you to remember is it's impossible for you to only reach one person, because by affecting a positive change in that one person, you're affecting everyone around them to a degree that you can't really measure, you know. And if you've ever experienced this by making changes in your life and seeing the ripple effect, or just kind of coming into, you know, a greater content and ease in your life, you see the effect it has. You know, I know for me, with a family here in New York City, it's like it's a profound effect. And so you should always take heart in the fact that you can't just affect one person. Every positive change you guys cause is affecting that person, their family, their cousins, their dog, their pet. I mean, you name it, right down the line. It affects everything. And so that's how we change the world, I think. And it's cool. It's very cool.
Thank you so much for saying that.
You're welcome.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And man, you know, I would love to see you guys. I mean, I know you have enough work to do, but I can't help but say, you know, I see the young, the kids, you know, and I don't know, I've never been on Tinder, but I have a friend who's on it, and he tells me about it, and I'm like, that's so you're literally like, and then what? You just like, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I'm sure it's convenient, but it just seems like communication more and more. You know, I mean, I walk by a group of kids in the city, and they're just like, they're hanging out, if you want to call it that, but they're just on their phone. I mean, they're just like scrolling and swiping. I'm like, hey. I wanted to like to be like, you guys can talk too, you know, just
what,
you know.
But I think we have to. I think one impetus for the Skin Deep and what we do is, how do we find them? How do we give them an experience in the tools that they're using? Because for them, they are hanging out. For them, they're hanging out. For them, we did something with the morning show. They came, did an experiment with us because we're like really good at that. So we did this experiment where we had and what we learned from this experiment that was done in the morning shows was that they feel intimate if we can be on the phone at the same time and not talk. And for me, it'd be like, wait, you're on the phone and that's not feeling intimate. But for the young, they feel, actually, no, we have such a good friendship that we could both be on the phone at the same time, and therefore we are intimate because we can both do that. Whoa, that's flipping on its head.
Wow.
And so relationships are shit. I mean, my grandfather used to flick me on the back of the ear when I'm talking on the phone. He's like, Topaz,
like that.
You don't talk on the phone. You don't talk on the phone. You call someone to make a meeting in the park, and you talk in the park. You don't talk on the phone. That's not communication. Nowadays, nobody even talks on the phone. You were talking about calling someone. People leave monologues on WhatsApp for each other, right? Or their DM. They actually are not in a dialogue. They're in a monologue.
Yeah.
And so what is that? But it's not right, or like asking the question again, is that right or wrong? Irrelevant. Question is, what can we do about it? How can we utilize what's there to create a more conscientious present moment in the relationship that we have? And that's really like the whole impetus for the Skin Deep. That's really like what we're focused on, because ultimately, like you said, and that was beautiful. I actually really appreciate that, because I think I've forgotten that. Like, you're right. You cannot only affect one person.
No.
We're a domino. We're butterfly. We're all connected. So the fact that what we're doing now affects the people down the line, it will have generational effect.
Yeah.
And if we can make a 2 millimeter change now, and we say this all the time in our company, in our team, if we make 2 millimeter change now, and we go 100 years from now, we're a mile apart. We're in a different spot.
It's true.
And that's where we're at. That we're looking at things long term, and you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
no, it's true. It's exciting to think. Yeah, because of course I have children, and so I worry. You know, I worry about them. How old are
your kids?
They're 10 and 8.
10 and 8. So we're gonna send. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna send you a free kids edition.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then the other products you can buy. But this one,
okay.
I think we should send him that, and then we should send him one for his partner, maybe. For him and his wife.
Yeah.
Like you've been together a long time, or how long you been together?
Well, let's see. It'll be 12 years, I think. 12 years. No.
You feel like you're long term? Like, are you like are you like still in it? Like, do you need to find fresh fodder for why you're together, or are you still in it?
We're still in it. Yeah. We make sure we're always finding fresh, you know, and kind of reinvigorating and reigniting the flame. So, you know, we're creative that way. And she's creative that way as well. So I'm lucky. I'm lucky.
So if we send you the kids edition, the couples deck, will you just send us an email, let us know how it went?
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
We take no responsibility for what happened, just so you know.
No.
I'm kidding.
I would be so grateful, and I absolutely will send you a video. And you know, maybe we'll see what happens and where I'm at with everything. But like I said, I make vlogs for my channel too, so maybe I'll see I'll get my kids on it and see, you know, or maybe my wife and I will get the camera set up and do something. That'd be so cool. Be awesome.
Another thing, if you want, we could, next time we film in New York, we should let you know. so that you could have an experience for yourself. Like,
Yeah.
and just as an offering, and the beautiful thing there is that you can keep it forever. But actually, we have an app too, where
Okay.
you can actually right now go and play with anybody. It's FaceTime with questions. It's the app. And then you can actually record the conversation, so you could save it and make it private just for your own archive.
Yeah.
Especially, I think it's especially powerful to play with the older people who we know, like if you want to have those conversations with your dad or your mom or your grandparent and kind of record that and save that for yourself.
Sure.
The End app is really valuable in that regard.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even realize. Well, I should have known there was an app. I think I was playing with a version of the app on the site, and I was thinking this should be an app, and it probably says right there as an app. I was just like, oh, this is fun, and I was answering the questions. That's funny, man. But you guys are awesome. This has been so cool, and I'm definitely gonna, I'll send you an email and whatever you want to send me. I mean, I'm gonna probably end up buying something either way, because I think it'd make a great gift for a friend of mine. I'd like to get it for. But I'm so grateful for your time, and I know you guys are real busy with everything, and so this has been very cool. I appreciate you taking time out. I'm glad we finally found a time that worked. Sydney, I'm looking forward to the podcast. Is there a release date set?
Looks like the first week of January, Sid, or maybe the second. So it's early January, right, Sid?
Okay.
Did we lose Sid?
Did we lose Sid?
Yeah. Early January. In January. It's coming out.
Well,
but you could sign up on honestx.com to be notified.
You guys will have to tell Sydney that I said thank you, because I don't know. I think we lost her. And Ashika, thank you so much. There she is.
Oh yeah, I'm back.
No worries. I was just saying I'm excited about your podcast. I'm not going to lie. I'm looking forward to checking it out.
To share it with the world and really be able to once again bring in a new tool for people to start using. So
very cool. Ashika, your name is like very much tied to like the Akashic records and just knowledge of things, right?
You think so?
Yeah, totally. It's
for
real. Yeah.
We should look into that, because that's totally true.
I mean,
is like on another level.
Yeah. I get the very strong sense about you. Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate it.
But you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I'll be in touch, and we'll let you guys know when this episode's going to premiere and everything.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Faust.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Bye,
guys.